Hola, good morning, good afternoon, buenos días, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo están estudiantes de AP Lengua? Mi nombre es el señor Ojeda y soy profesor de español en Louisville, Kentucky. Hoy vamos a hablar acerca de un tema muy importante para su examen de AP. Y es el primer tema. Esta serie se llama The AP Language Exam Advice for Students number 1. And today we're going to start with el ensayo argumentativo or the Argumentative Essay. Muy importante en el examen de AP, ¿verdad? Muy bien, excelente. Entonces, hoy vamos a hablar en español, en inglés, sobre el ensayo, about el ensayo argumentativo. Mi nombre es el señor Ojeda. Entonces, empezamos. Let's get started. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre un ensayo persuasivo y un ensayo argumentativo? The persuasive essay, which is the name that College Board gave to this section before, the intention was to persuade, in other words, to convince people that my point, my ideas, my point of view was the correct one about a specific topic. But then they changed it to ensayo argumentativo, which is argumentative essay. The difference is that in the ensayo argumentativo, I'm going to show that I can prove my point. I can use the different sources to support my point. So the intention is not as much to persuade, but to use the sources in a very effective way. So people get interested in what I read or what I write. So, ensayo persuasivo, opiniones, emociones, y es bastante subjetivo. When you want to persuade, when you want to convince someone to do something or to get something, you use your personality to make that happen. En el ensayo argumentativo is more logical, is more the reason, is more objective, is not as subjective. Entonces está basado en las fuentes, meaning is based on the sources. ¿Ok? Entonces, ensayo argumentativo. Excelente. Ahora, ¿qué tienen en común? What do they have in common? Los dos ensayos son una propuesta. Los dos ensayos quieren convencer, convince. En los dos ensayos necesitas usar o citar las fuentes, the sources, necesitas usarlas. Y en los dos ensayos estás apoyando, sustentando, supporting una opinión personal, un punto de vista, a point of view. Y en los dos puedes contrastar un poco. Es importante, it's very important que aprendas las palabras para contrastar. ¿Ok? Y in both essays, you have to conclude, you need to write a conclusion that hasn't changed yet. Meaning the format really hasn't changed. Ahora, ¿qué es? Un ensayo argumentativo es un texto en el que desarrollo algo que está determinado por un argumento o un razonamiento. Okay, there's a very important part, which is kind of like the main part of your argumentative essay, which is the thesis. Okay, so la tesis. What is the thesis? If we learn how to write good thesis, then you're gonna have enough to say about whatever topic you're going to talk in your argumentative essay. If you don't have a good thesis, it's gonna be un poquito difícil. So we need to focus these days before the exam on making sure that we are practicing putting together good thesis. Buenas, muy buenas tesis. Entonces, ¿qué es una buena tesis? Aquí dice en español, es un buen enunciado de tesis, es conciso y claro. Concise and clear. La tesis debe hacer una afirmación. Entonces, the thesis is going to make a statement about what you believe is true regarding the topic that you are studying. Esta afirmación debe ser de causa y efecto. Entonces, por ejemplo, el cambio de horario, time change, el cambio de horario en los Estados Unidos causa efectos negativos en el estado de ánimo, mood, en el estado de ánimo de las personas. That is a very good thesis because you're proposing the topic, you're working with the topic that College Board is giving you, but then you are giving your opinion and you're expressing that opinion in a strong way in a very concise and clear sentence, meaning your thesis. El cambio de horario en los Estados Unidos causa efectos negativos en el estado de ánimo, mood, de las personas. Ok, excelente. Ahora, la tesis no es un asunto debatible para ti. Y en la tesis es importante that you are convinced about what you're going to defend. Ahora, cuando tenemos una tesis débil, weak, entonces es una tesis que no tiene mucha oportunidad para debatir. Es algo muy simple, muy lógico. It's kind of like a common sentence. Like, for example, los Estados Unidos es un país grande. That's not a thesis. That's just a statement. Los Estados Unidos es un país grande. Okay, who's going to debate about that? See? So we don't want this kind of thesis. No queremos esto, por favor. Muy bien. Ahora, let's look at the parts of the argumentative essay. Primero, la introducción. Entonces, en la introducción, it's very important that you state your opinion from your own self. Entonces, en la forma de yo, está bien. En la introducción, there's a sub-introduction to the general topic en tercera persona. Por ejemplo, si hablamos de los cambios de horario, a little sub-introduction can be something like many countries have a change in time throughout the year to accommodate seasons, for example. Entonces, una pequeña introducción al tema que está en tercera persona. Eso no tiene que ser yo. Después, la tesis, tu tesis. Entonces, el cambio de horario en los Estados Unidos causa un efecto en el estado de ánimo de las personas. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Y diciendo, yo pienso que, and make the statement. Ahora, necesitas ver. This is not part of the introduction, but I want you to look at the sources and decide what sources support my point of view and what sources do not support my point of view. It's very important because you want to focus on those sources that support your point of view and start talking about them first because you're going to be able to say more. If you have to contradict, it's going to be a little harder. So it's good advice to check first what sources are supporting your point of view. If you have your point of view right away. Now, if you read the sources and you don't have a point of view enough to come up with a thesis, my recommendation is that you take the point of view of two sources that say kind of like the same thing about the topic. So you agree with what they are saying, come up with your own thesis. And again, you are going to be writing, supporting your point of view on those two sources that agree with what you think or what you pretend to think in the thesis. Okay? Muy bien. If you didn't understand this, go back and listen again. Escucha otra vez. Muy bien. Esa es la estrategia. Ahora, para el párrafo 1 de tu tesis, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Empieza con una frase contundente, una frase fuerte, ¿sí? That supports your thesis. Something that will grab the reader's attention. Luego, apoya tu punto de vista mencionando las fuentes. So you grab the attention of the reader, you say something, and then you quote. And then you say, según fuente número 1, las personas en los Estados Unidos comen más durante los meses del invierno. Entonces, eso se relaciona con el cambio de horario también. And can support your point of view. Según fuente número, ¿sí? Es importante y ponla entre comillas. Después de poner la cita, comenta la cita. Not just put the source, the quote, and then leave it at that. No. Put the quote from the text or from the source, and then make a comment based on that. And if you can bring together your comment with a personal experience on that specific part of the topic, that's a good move, okay? All right, now, you're gonna have sources that disagree with your point of view. So it's very important to put in doubt those things. Like for example, according to source number 3, and then whatever they say, then you say, but I strongly disagree with this because this, and this. The AP reader wants to see that you understand what the sources are saying. When you take a stand, you show that you are understanding what they are saying, okay? All right, and again, whatever you put, whatever quote you put, you need to comment, all right? And if you can support with a personal experience, much better. Then you have the other paragraphs. See, in these paragraphs, you can have 3 paragraphs and 1 paragraph for each one of the sources. You can have 1 big paragraph where you work with all the sources. You don't have to quote the sources in order. You can start with source number 2 or source number 3. Remember that I say you're gonna start with the one that supports your thesis, okay? All right. So we talk about how supporting the ideas and then if you contradict whatever the source is saying in these paragraphs. Then you write la conclusión. So la conclusión is kind of like a summary of what you have said. But the most important thing is that you are reinforcing your thesis. Do not say something different from what you said at the beginning. I have seen that many times. People says, yeah, the change of time, the time change in the United States affects people's mood. In conclusion, time change doesn't affect people's moods in the United States. ¿Ah? Dijiste que sí, ahora estás diciendo que no. ¿Qué te pasa? ¿Tienes problemas? ¿Necesitas ayuda? So make sure that the conclusion is just wrapping everything, okay? And agreeing with what you said at the beginning. Ahora, many people ask about ¿qué gramática? What grammar should I focus on? Important. It's very important that you work really well on adjective-noun agreement. See? For example, en español, puedes decir la silla blanca, ¿ok? No la silla blanco, no el sillo blanco, no, sí, okay, agreement, okay? Not la silla blancas, no. Adjective noun agreement on gender, which is important in Spanish, and in number, meaning singular or plural. Now, I'm not so sure yet how College Board is going to work with the neutral gender, like instead of todos or todas, de todes, but I do believe that the majority of readers will be okay with this kind of like grammar in Spanish. So if you have learned this at your school, you feel confident using it, use it. If not, if you have not heard about this before, don't worry, just make sure that you practice adjective noun agreement, okay? Make sure that you practice comparisons of equality and equality. You don't have to write many argumentative essays to do this. You can just take two things, okay? Coke and Pepsi, and try to explain in Spanish why are the same and how are they different. That helps a lot later on when you have to write the essay. Make sure that the pronouns are the pronouns that you meant to use and that the verbs are conjugated in those pronouns. Now, el subjuntivo, super importante. It's important that you use subjunctive, especially in the persuasive or argumentative essay. In what kind of sentences? Sentences like, pienso que es importante que las personas coman más temprano en el invierno. Coman, that's the subjunctive. Es necesario que, sugiero que, dudo que, ¿sí? So review at least 6 to 8 expressions with the subjunctive that you can insert in your persuasive or argumentative essay and make sure that you're conjugating the verb in the present subjunctive. Readers will love that, okay? And also the conditional. When you're giving your opinion, like for example, talking about the change in time, you could say something like, si yo viviera en un país latinoamericano sin estaciones, no me preocuparía por el cambio de horario. If I would live in a Latin American country with no seasons, like the seasons here in the United States, I wouldn't worry about that. No, sí, no me preocuparía. Entonces, subjuntivo y condicional, súper importante, chicos. Muy bien. Ahora, es importante también estas cosas. Make sure that you read the prompt. Make sure that you read the introduction. Make sure that you take notes of the important information that you're going to be using later, especially in the written text or the article that they give you. Make sure that when you read the graphic, you're not just reading the graphic. You need to interpret the graphic, okay? Don't say something like, oh yeah, in December, there is winter. Okay, because that's obvious. It's a matter of interpretation. Escucha la entrevista y apunta la información importante. Always, please, do not trust yourself that you're going to remember everything on the audio part. Take notes of whatever you understand and whatever you can, but take notes because that's going to help you when you write the argumentative essay. Otherwise, you have to deal with the text, with the graphic, and then you have no idea, you don't remember what they say in the audio, and that's going to create a problem if you want to quote the audio, which is good to quote the 3 sources, okay? Muy bien. Y hacer un outline del ensayo, this is good when you're practicing in the classroom. We really don't have much time during the exam to do the outline of the ensayo. But if you practice the outline in class, you're gonna have it here and you're gonna be organized when you try to write it during the exam. And remember, when you choose your thesis, when you choose a point of view that you're in favor of, you're doing this for the AP exam. You're not doing this for your family, for your therapist, or for the priest. In other words, you can lie a little bit in your point of view if you think that you're gonna be writing a strong thesis and you can support it, okay? It's not a personal confession, okay? It's an exercise, it's an activity where they wanna see how well you use the language, that's all. All right, I'm not upset, I'm okay. Then you can write the essay. Okay, remember, read again before submitting it. Read it, because we always find mistakes. Ladies and gentlemen, besides being a teacher, I'm also a writer. And you have no idea how many times I have to read one of my books and how many times I keep finding mistakes. If you write a persuasive argumentative essay and you don't read it, there's gonna be mistakes. Not that those mistakes are gonna take points off, by big points off, but if they're repetitive and they impede communication, the writer is gonna say, this is not a good persuasive essay. I keep saying persuasive, but I'm from the old guard, so argumentative essay. Muy bien, amigos. Entonces, introducción, at least 5 complete sentences. A complete sentence has between 8 and 10 words. Cuerpo, párrafos, 8 oraciones completas en cada párrafo. If it's just one big one, then count 8 por 3, 24, 8 times 3, 24, right? Y la conclusión, 5 oraciones completas para reafirmar la tesis. Un ensayo de a page and a half, 2 pages, it's good, you know. It's more than that, you're starting to repeat many things, and that can take from, you know, the quality of the essay. Remember, you have to be concise and clear. All right, sugerencias generales. Tesis, impactante, impactful. Sugestiva, suggestive, that makes the reader read it. El cuerpo, you start with the strongest points of view, from the strongest to the less strong ones that you have on the topic. And always start each paragraph with thematic sentences, using words and expressions, transition expressions. Okay, let's go to Quizlet and type AP Spanish language palabras de transición, or in English, and you can see many of them. And again, remember, la conclusión, that reflects the stand that you took during the whole essay. All right, mis amigos, this is the first video of the AP Spanish language suggestions. I'm going to be recording another one in about a week. And next time we're gonna talk about conversación simulada, or simulated conversation. I hope that you like this presentation. My name is Señor Ojeda. My website, señorojeda.com. And that's my email and my Instagram. I know you're on Instagram. Follow me. All right. See you later. Adios.